Got a new plugin today from my friends at Waves that I want to show you. It's the Curves AQ plugin. Before I dive in, thank you for stopping by today. If you're new to the channel, there are some affiliate links down below. And if you want to get some help with mixing and making your mixes better, reach out to me down below. There's links down there to click on, but let's take a look at this plugin. So this is the Curves AQ plugin. It's the next in the Curves line from Waves. And this plugin, it's hard for me to even know where to start with it. When I first got it, it kind of shocked me. I've had this for about a week now. We're still, 4 or 5 days away from the actual release. So there might be some little things that change still, but I've had some time with this and I've used it on some stuff and it's interesting. So this is the Curves AQ plugin. It's the next in Waves Curves line. The AQ, I think it stands for Autonomous EQ. Basically, in a nutshell, it's kind of an automatic EQ plugin. I've used some of those in the past, and this one just feels different to me. I don't know how to explain it. When I first pulled this up, I had a lot of different emotions when I started using it and testing it and playing around with it. And then I worked with it for a few days and I really started changing things. So I think there are some interesting, maybe more philosophical questions that might come with something like this, but let's save those and some of my feelings and thoughts on that till the end. Let's take a look at this and what it can do. So I have a live acoustic guitar here, and acoustic guitars that are just recorded live, not generally the greatest sounding things in the world. I mean, here, just with everything bypassed, here's what it sounds like. So, a little dull, it's not there yet. So I'm going to reset this whole thing and walk you through doing it. So first up, I've just got the main version of this plugin. There's also a live version. If you do live sound stuff like me, there is a live version. Some of the big differences are the live version is 0 latency. This one is not 0 latency. I believe this is a linear phase EQ based on a little bit of testing that I did, putting meters and stuff on this. The live version is not. So that's one thing about this that maybe we'll save that. So first thing you do is you play a little bit and then you click the learn button. So it's identified it as an acoustic guitar, and we have some different options. So what I can do is I can click through and see if one of these is one that I like. The first one is probably going to work okay. I think I'm going to put a little high pass on it because why not? Now we've got some other controls here. So right down here, dynamic and static, we can make this more of a static EQ. Or we can make it more dynamic. This actually gets adjusted automatically, as I've discovered when you're trying different things. I tend to like things a little more static most of the time with what I've been using this for, but it works pretty good. Then we can adjust sort of different tonal parts of the mix. Actually, let's hide this. If we click that, it'll hide it. So like the low end, just the fundamental of it, for example. And you can shift these around a little bit if you want. Harmonics, and then just kind of like the top end or the air of things. And then there is this sort of overall tilt. And you can change the offset on that. Another thing that's been helpful, sometimes I like to click on this input here so that I can actually see what's coming in. And sometimes you can offset things with that. It's helpful. Down here, you can control kind of the overall amount of cuts. You can also control the overall amount of boosting it does. And then there's kind of this like main control right here, which I guess it defaults at 50, but you can overall adjust the amount of processing. And that's pretty much it. Now you can also, if I click here, I can add little nodes. So there's a lot of control here. And what this line is, this is a target. This isn't necessarily what the processing is. This is the target that it generates that it thinks is the right target for a particular sound. Now, I'm going to put this into context with all the guitars I have in this track, and I am going to see how this works and maybe tweak it a little bit. I mean, it just kind of does it. It's kind of wild. Now, this brings up something that is kind of a big deal to me and something to keep in mind with these kinds of auto EQs is context is something that this plugin doesn't have. There is a way that we can feed other stuff into here and adjust this mix sense control. I honestly haven't tried it, but that is a way to kind of get things to play off of each other. Maybe we'll try that on a bass guitar and see how it does with a kick drum, because why not? Okay, so I've got the kick drum soloed up now, and we're going to try this mix sense. Let's turn that off because that's kind of keying some things. And let's just see what this does. Let's turn it off. Here, let me go between the two. Let's get this into context and see what this is going to do. So this is one of those things that it's kind of subtle, and if you're not listening on full range speakers, you're not going to hear it quite the same. But when I flip over to this MixSense version, I feel like the kick, it's speaking a little better. So that's kind of cool to me. In general, this plugin doesn't understand like how is everything supposed to work in the context of the mix. So it doesn't do everything in a sense. But where I've been liking this is it really helps kind of set inputs up for success in a way. To me, this is like having a really great assistant engineer who is going to get me initial sounds, and then I can go in and sort of finish the job and tweak things a little bit. So it's a time saver, but it's not something that is going to stop me from EQing things in general. Where I've been finding this really useful is when I get something in and I'm kind of like, what am I supposed to do with this? This is something that I will probably go to quite a bit. Now, I want to show you something. There's the acoustic. I have 2 electric guitars here, and I want to show you that like this plugin pulls up unique settings for everything. What do I want to reset. So I'm going to solo both of these guitars up. We'll put these next to each other, and I'm going to play a bunch and hit the learn button. Something I wondered about was, all of these like curve suggestions. Where is it getting those from? Is it just pulling up, 5 different ones based on what kind of instrument it detects? And that's not the case. I mean, it has detected both of these as overdrive guitar. But if we just look at the different settings, like this one and this one look the same, but some of these other ones, they're different. It's not just giving you sort of the same stock things. It's doing something in how it's listening to things, and I don't know if it's going to the internet and doing some neural network stuff or what is exactly going on, but it definitely customizes things. So I think it does a pretty good job. I mean, I've tried some of these automatic EQs in the past, and I haven't really cared for the results. I mean, even here, let's go to the snare drum. Like, I even have this running on the snare, and I normally hate what these kinds of plugins do on drums. So, like, here's what it did. In fact, let's just reset it and see what it does now. See, I like that one the most so far. Let's see what that input is. So I've kind of taken the offset and shifted it down a little bit on this. So, in the context of the drums, It's not exactly what I would do, but that's kind of a crazy result to me. Philosophically, I mean, my initial reaction on this was, geez, is this going to take my job away? I mean, so much of what I do has to do with how I equalize things. It's a big part of why my mixes sound like me. But as I started playing with this, I started to see this a little different. And this is just, it's a cool assistant for me. I'm not using it on every input, and I'm not even necessarily trying it on every input, but there are some things that I have been going to with this, like problematic live recordings of acoustic guitars. Like, this is one of the first things I pull up now because it just gets me set to where I can actually start doing other stuff to things. I've had mixed feelings about what it's done on some instruments like bass guitars. What it's doing here right now, I kind of like on this particular bass, but I know I tried it on another one and I didn't find something that I really liked about it. On vocals, I've had some vocals that I put it on and it's just like, oh, thank you, because it just fixed it right there for me. And then I could go in and do a little bit of tweaking and add a little bit of extra stuff to make it work in the overall context of the song. But I've also had other vocals where I just didn't care for what it was doing. But more often than not, what this gives me, like the options it presents, they're mostly, if not always, very usable. And I've been kind of digging this thing, which I was surprised. Because I don't normally go for automatic EQ kinds of plugins, but this one, I think going forward, this is going to be a part of my workflow. There's a lot of plugins I look at that I think are good and they do cool things. And, you know, over time, I'm not really using them. I think this one is going to be a part of my workflow. You know, someplace I've really been liking this is when I put it on kind of my master bus, like my stereo mix. After I've kind of gone through and I've mixed and I'm at the end of things, sort of in the kind of mastering stage, I pull this guy out and put it on. And I've been really happy with what it's done so far. Where I'm really looking forward to trying this out is on some like live sound stuff. Once this releases, I'll be able to actually do that. And I'm real curious to see what it's going to do on that. I've played with the live version inside of Pro Tools and I've been real happy with the results. And I think this is going to be a big time saver for the houses of worship that I work with a lot of times, where I'm going in and training engineers. One of the hardest things to learn is how to EQ properly. I think this is going to help out some of those churches quite a bit, because a lot of those engineers, they're volunteers, they're kind of weekend warriors. They're not always engineers who have the time to really learn how to EQ things like I've spent my career figuring out. I think this is going to help out a lot, because they can just go in and listen and decide on things using their tastes and not having to worry as much about whether they're supposed to take out 400 or 500. They can listen to this and really just sort of tweak. And I think it's going to help. Now, the downside to this kind of thing is I don't see this as training wheels. You know, the thing about training wheels, when you're trying to teach your kids how to ride a bike, they don't really work. Like, kids end up using them more as a crutch. And I think there is a possibility that, like, if you are not experienced in using EQ and you want to learn that, this might give you some ideas, but it's not really going to teach you how to EQ. I don't think. I mean, maybe, but to me, this is doing so much for you. You're not going to learn. I mean, you can go in and tweak this. This might be helpful for producers, but if you want to really engineer things, I think you still are going to want to use EQ. The other thing about this that is sort of hard to talk about, but we're playing with tones when we're playing with EQ. And there is a creative side to that. And sometimes I think what this is going to do, I mean, whatever the models are for the curves there, it's all based on pre-existing content and pre-existing approaches of other engineers. So if you want to do something fresh and something new, this isn't going to do it for you. You can tweak this in the end to get something new, but sometimes I think it's better to just start with a clean palette altogether, and that's not exactly what this is going to do. I think you can definitely be creative with this, though, because you have so much control within it, and you can add nodes and tilt things in different ways. One of the things I didn't talk about is you can go in and change that adaptive, like maybe it came up as a bass guitar, but what would happen if we pick flute? But one of the things that's challenging to me with some of these automatic kinds of plugins, whether it's EQ or something else, is how does that affect the overall creativity of things? And I think if you are creating, that's something you have to think about, and you're going to have to decide, is this something I want to use? I know for me, when I was recording my own music years ago, I probably would not have gone for something like this because I was just putting things on and experimenting and turning knobs and doing things. And you can do that to an extent in here, but for me, I kind of like, just doing that with blank canvases in a way. But, your mileage may vary. But from a mixing standpoint, I think this could potentially be really helpful. And I've already been using it. I think it's going to be a part of my workflow going forward. So that's the Waves Curves AQ. Cool plugin from Waves. I want to know, though, what do you think of this? What do you think of the idea of having something automatic like this? Leave a comment down below and let's get the discussion going on this. So I'd love to know your thoughts. But thanks for watching. I will talk to you soon.